The man ate mushrooms every day. When he was thirsty, he drank water from the river. But he wasn't satisfied with this, so he tried to catch fish. In the end, he didn't catch any fish. Instead, he pricked himself. He then wanted to get bird eggs, but he really had no talent for it. Bird droppings even hit him in the face. It turned out the man had been stranded on this desert island for years. One day, he was washing his hair by the riverbank. All the fish floated up to the surface. They had been poisoned by his shampoo. That night, he got to eat grilled fish. Birds tried to steal the fish meat, and they were also poisoned, so he got to eat grilled birds too. The man often searched for treasures on the island. Whenever he saw something useful, he dragged it back. In this way, he finally had a bed. Until one day, he found a package of fried sauce noodles. There was only seasoning powder inside. Smelling the scent from the package, he suddenly wanted to eat fried sauce noodles. From that moment on, no other food could attract him. Even in his dreams, all he thought about was fried sauce noodles. So the man decided to make a bowl by himself. He found various spices, put them in a helmet and crushed them, then poured in an appropriate amount of water, and stirred the mixture. But it couldn't take shape at all, let alone be made into noodles. He had no choice but to keep eating grilled fish. Until the next day, bird droppings gave him an idea. If birds couldn't digest the grains they ate, there must be seeds in their droppings. He praised himself for being a genius, then started collecting bird droppings. The man found a flat piece of land, used scrap iron as a hoe, and turned socks into gloves. To prevent the crops from being eaten, he also made a scarecrow from a suit. Next, all he could do was wait for the harvest. A few days later, small shoots sprouted in the field. The man was overjoyed and took even more careful care of the crops. As time passed slowly, he seemed to adapt to this kind of life. Every day, he exercised first, then went down to the river to catch fish. He couldn't even climb a tree before, but now he did it with ease. A few more months passed, and the corn finally ripened. He picked the corn kernels and collected them, put them in the helmet and crushed them, then poured in clean water and kneaded the mixture into dough. First, he rolled the dough flat, then cut it into thin strips. Next, he boiled the noodles, and finally added the seasoning packet. He stirred the noodles evenly, and the moment he took a bite, his eyes were filled with tears. This was more than just a bowl of noodles, it was his hope for life. The man pretended to be drinking coffee, but the cup was full of soil. Taking advantage of no one's notice, he poured all the soil into the trash can. Every time they dug out soil before, the prisoners would put it into backpacks, then swagger to the second floor cell, and transport it to the gap in the roof through the hole. But as time went on, the gap was almost full. They were discussing solutions. When the prison guards launched a surprise inspection, two people turned around and ran to the cell. Because there were still companions in the tunnel at that time, they hurried back to the cell to report the news. But the space in the tunnel was too narrow, and the companions really couldn't make it in time. The prison guards outside the room began to wreak havoc, and ordered everyone to go out. Jim found that his companions hadn't come out yet, so he had to stand up to stop the prison guards. He pushed a guard hard, and the prisoners standing behind were not to be outdone either. The scene instantly became a mess. Of course, the prisoners with bare hands were no match for the guards, and they were quickly knocked down. But this also bought enough time for the companions in the tunnel. They blocked the hole with stones, then filled all the gaps with paste, and even moved a table to block it. In order not to arouse the guards' suspicion, they also needed to wipe off the soil on their bodies. At this time, the guards came to their cell. He threw all the items on the ground, and even climbed up to the attic. He was attracted by the poster on the wall. The guard's hand had already touched the ceiling, but at the critical moment, a colleague appeared and called him away. Only then did everyone escape the disaster, but they still received punishment. Everyone took off their clothes and squatted in the sun. Jim, who took the lead in making trouble, was also locked in a dark room. This still couldn't stop them. To speed up the escape, they decided to find more people to join them. This greatly increased the risk of being discovered, so they adopted a shift system. They could dig for at least 8 hours a day, in order not to be noticed by others. Every shift change required careful cleaning of the whole body, not even sparing the nail seams. But as the tunnel continued to deepen, there was a lack of oxygen inside. Prisoners on shifts fainted inside. To solve this problem, Jim used the escape as a condition to get a motor. Then, when the lawyer visited, he brought in extra long plastic bags. He made them into a ventilation pipe, ensuring the circulation of air inside. The problem of lack of oxygen was solved. Everyone was looking forward to the success of the plan. On this day, they heard a strange sound similar to an earthquake. Fortunately, the earthquake only lasted for a while, but the guards found that the number of people was wrong, so they pretended to have sprained their ankles, thus avoiding the guards' suspicion.